Hello, everybody. Let's talk politics. We're notifying viewers that you're live. Hello, Fayan. Hello, Marmalades and M. Hello, everybody. We can enhance. Ooh, we can enhance. The modifications, more. Ooh, flip camera, admin settings, comment. We can do all sorts of stuff on this. Hello, everybody, if you're just joining us. I thought I'd go live and answer any questions you may have on this fine day. Jules Irene Elliott, hello. What's the matter, El? Do you want to say hello? Come here then. Come here then. Up here. Up. She's got her ball, haven't you, Els? Ellie's got her ball. Hi, Marmalades and M. Hi, everyone. I haven't got anything particular I was going to talk about today. I was like, yeah, I'll go live and for half hour, see what people are talking about. Maybe talk about this nonsense down in Downing Street at the moment that's going on. So they're investigating 3 parties now that they had last year, apparently. Well, I don't know. Did we have a party? I can't remember. Let's have an investigation, shall we? Investigate whether we had parties that we went to. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? Marmalades and M says, do you think Starmer is a plastic Tory? Keir Starmer is a knight. He's a knight of the Queen's realm. He's been knighted. He's been anointed by the establishment. So, is he a plastic Tory? No. He's a Tory. He's a Tory. He just, dresses up with a red tie. That's it, really. He's a Tory with a red tie. If you look at, I remember just after the election, when Corbyn lost, Starmer took over. He released his plan, didn't he, of how he was going to get the economy back on track, and he was going to go, right, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to, all those people who've saved money during the lockdowns, yeah, we're going to get them to spend it, and that's going to trickle down to the poor. It's like, well, if that plan sounds familiar to you, then it should do, because that's the Tory plan, and for about 15 years, or as long as I can remember. Katie B. Baby. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, are you?
I'm really good.
Yeah.
We're talking politics, Katie. We're talking politics here, Katie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm talking fucking Ed and Eddie shit, yeah. You look like Ed of fucking the cartoon.
Oh, we can't have the swears. There's no need to swear.
Sorry for swearing. I know, sorry for swearing, but you do.
I'm sorry, we can't have swearing. We can't have swearing on. Hi from Berlin. I'm watching English media sometimes here, and the government seems a big joke. It is a big joke. I mean, no. It's a big joke here. It's kind of amazing. We haven't got like a Bill of Rights. We've got a Bill of Rights. We haven't got any real, constitution or anything like that. it's almost like the whole thing is built on a house of cards, you know, and because we believe in it, it keeps going. It's like the kind of like the financial system, really. Who do you think will win the next election? Says filing for bankruptcy. Here's the truth. I don't care. And the reason being is I think that our electoral politics needs to be thrown in the bin. I think our first past the post system needs to be thrown in the bin. We have incredible technology at our disposal now. Incredible. We can do incredible things. I mean, you know, we can program our money now. We can do amazing things. Yet we're stuck with this electoral system that we've had for hundreds of years that is clearly no longer fit for purpose. And it doesn't matter who gets in now. It doesn't matter who you vote for, whether it be Tory, whether it be Green, whether it be Labour. No matter who gets in, you're going to end up with a neo-liberal government. That's it. You know, there's no real difference between Labour and the Tories now. Really, there isn't. So it doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter who wins the next election. Things are not going to change for the better or worse for us. That's all for you and me. Our lives are not going to change. The whole thing needs totally and utterly reforming because it's not fit for purpose. It's, you know, these people down there, there's 650 of them, you know, MPs in the House of Parliament, and none of them are any good. None of them. I mean, there were a few young Labour MPs now that I think, well, they're quite, you know, but it's only a matter of time before they let me down hugely. You know, we're expecting the result tomorrow. We're expecting the decision tomorrow from the High Court as to whether Julian Assange will be free. That's going to be come in the morning, apparently. And no politicians down there are screaming about it. None of them. It's the most important case of press freedom in the history of the world. There's never been a bigger case of press freedom than it. And nobody's screaming about it. Nobody's talking about it down there. The only politician that was jumping up and down about it, they got rid of. Do you remember? Chris Williamson? They got rid of him. They smeared him as an anti-Semite and got rid of him. So, you know, the politicians down there are ineffective. They don't really represent us. They're from all walks. They're all from all colours and creeds. You know, you've got black MPs, Indian MPs, white MPs, but they're all from the same political class, really. Nobody really came from, you know, council estates like I did or you probably did. They're not representative of the people in their districts. In fact, many of them were parachuted into their districts, you know, from elsewhere in the country and have no real grassroots to where they come from. So, yeah, with regards to who I think will win an election, I couldn't give a toss. I want total reform, total and utter reform. If you look at the way the electoral system is set up now, I mean, you know, we don't get to really vote on anything, do we? That affects you and us. We just don't. Look at the last thing was Brexit, and that was an absolute fiasco, the way that was held. Most complicated decision that we could ever make, and they boiled it down to a load of sound bites and slogans because that goes over better than actually having a discussion about something. You know, that's probably why they got Boris Johnson. I remember he had a TV debate with Jeremy Corbyn. It wasn't a debate, it was sort of, you know, they came on and asked them questions. And there was a half an hour with Boris Johnson, and it was on YouTube. It's still on my YouTube channel. You can go and watch it. And I had a drinking game. At the beginning of it, I said, all right, okay, we've got 20 minutes of Boris Johnson or 30 minutes of Boris Johnson. Every time he says the words "get Brexit done," I'm going to have a drink. Within like 45 minutes, I was plastered. I could hardly stand up. You can go and watch that video. It's still on YouTube now. It's just sound bites and slogans. You know, and we get this false choice between Conservative and Labour. They're both the same thing. We don't actually get to vote on anything really that affects you and I. But we've got the technology now. You know, they can count 20 million votes on "I'm a celebrity, get me out of here" and verify them in a commercial break. but we're still doing everything on paper ballots. You know, I'm not saying that you could you go over to a closed system like America do with proprietary software and all that sort of thing, but there's a way you can do it. For proof of it, you could look at Venezuela. Strangely enough, the place that we point our fingers and say, "Oh, they're not a democracy," they do their democracy much better and much more accurately than we do. If you actually look, I mean, they even have thumbprints. You need to put your thumb on to vote. And then 51% of all their voting systems are audited in public afterwards. We could do any of that, but we don't. And the reason they don't, obviously, is because they want to keep all the power down there and don't really want to represent you and I. So, yeah, long way to answer the question, but yeah, I don't care who's going to win the next election because I want total political reform. It's all theatre, says Jack Smith. Yes, it really is. If you want proof of that, look at the video I did earlier about why this Downing Street Party video, why is it took a year for that to come out? I mean, this is AIDS that were doing that sort of fake thing. Why has it took a year for it to come out? Is it because Boris Johnson has served his usefulness now? You know, because as I explained in that video I did earlier, he was a better person to beat Jeremy Corbyn than somebody who was more establishment, shall we say, because he could shout, get Brexit done and get through it on sound bites and slogans. But, you know, he's obviously outseen his usefulness now. Pretty much it's clear that the knives are out for him. But what happens then? Well, what happens then is he goes and we end up getting what? Rishi Sunak? Or Sajid Javid? Nothing then will change, will it? It's just going to be more of the same. You know, we're in a situation, we're in the situation now where our whole economy, our way of doing things has just almost stopped. We're at the perfect opportunity now to really build something back that could be amazing and get everybody in the country involved in it, you know? How amazing would that be if everybody in the country felt as if they were a little part of this big plan that we were doing and we were going to do something amazing with our politics and our systems. We're going to radically change the country and we're going to give people, we're going to invest in people and invest in communities to say, right, okay, well, you need this. Well, here's some money. Do what you can to get out of it. And then it could really be exciting. But they're not going to do that. The only way that that's going to happen is if people really stand up and demand it. And I can't see that happening. Where do you think human rights come from? We don't have human rights, Farmageddon. We don't have human rights. We have the illusion of them. It's not a right if at the point where you need it the most, if there's a right out there that can be taken away from you right at the point where you need it the most, then it's not a right. Julian Assange has a right to a fair trial. He has a right. He has human rights. He has rights as a journalist. They took them away from him. You know, they just took them away from him. And they tortured him psychologically in this country, psychologically tortured him. That's not my words. That's the words of the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture, Nils Melzer. He was psychologically tortured. He psychologically has been for a decade. That's us that's doing it to him. How can we say we have human rights in this country if that person who needed our protection the most, we tortured? You don't have human rights. You just have the illusion of them. Biggs Bear says, hello, mate. I just saw your clip with reading the tweets. Absolutely on purpose. I don't usually do that, by the way, but that person's Twitter thread was excellent. And I think it really summed up, you know, the situation we're in at the moment and just how this is happening now for a reason. You know, all this stuff that's going on with Downing Street, the Downing Street Party, that didn't just come out of, you know, it just didn't spring from nowhere and happen on its own. No, somebody leaked that because there's an end game here. You know, somebody leaked it because they want to go in a certain direction. The establishment wants a certain thing, and that's what they're heading to. House of Cards says. I do A-level politics and we have studied FPTP and its corrupt electoral system. Yeah. We do have a corrupt electoral system. So we have become like America. I'm worried that that's the direction we're heading in, Comrade Kaiser. I believe America's a fascist state. If you actually look at the signs of fascism, they tick every box, you know, the overarching theme on... I mean, they have to sing the Pledge of Allegiance when they're at school or recite the Pledge of Allegiance, etc. And, you know, we know how they do flyovers from the military just at normal football matches, you know, college football matches, they'll have the military fly over. You know, that militarism is a big sign of fascism. And then you look at the fact that, oh, well, we've got free speech. No, you don't. You don't have free speech at all. They tick every box. My worry is that we're heading in that direction. If you look at what Preeti Patel is doing, you know, it certainly seems like she's modelling everything on the way America do, and the way America do things, especially with the immigration. We are becoming more and more like it. And we're hitching our wagon to it. That's the thing that annoys me the most. We're hitching our wagon to it. I mean, this is a country that just flagrantly disrespects human rights and rights of other countries routinely. You know, they complain vehemently about, oh, Russia interfered in our election. Really? How did they do that? Oh, they bought some fad ads on Facebook. Okay. Did it change anything? No, but they interfered in the election and we'll have a big investigation. It'll cost millions of dollars and we'll cover up the fact that Hillary Clinton lost to a cartoon after she'd rigged the primary against the person the people really wanted, Bernie Sanders. And we'll, you know, Russiagate came out of it's more of the same. It's just theatre over there and we're getting more and more like it over here. Politics needs to be completely reformed in this country, says Troy Davis. And I agree with you, Troy Davis, 63. Hello, Jet2 Official. Jet2 Official. Hello. Filing for bankruptcy says, we need to make MPs to take accountability so we have a true legitimate democracy. Well, yeah, I mean, look at what happens to them now when they lie in the House of Commons. Lying in the House of Commons should be as bad as perjuring yourself in a court of law. That's what it should be, if you think about it. It certainly should be, you know, up there. Have some sort of penance. But they can just get away with lying without any, not just without any repercussions whatsoever, but if somebody calls them out on the lie, then they get ejected from the House of Commons like Dawn Butler did a few weeks ago. Called him out as a liar. Now got to be ejected. He's not a liar. He's an honourable gentleman, you know? It's just that facade of... It's just a theatre of everything's going accordingly and it's all above board. It's not. It's liars getting away with lies without any repercussions whatsoever. Our politics are still based on the 18th century. The rich have the power, says Troy Davis. You are absolutely right, and that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, why are we still doing things in the same way that we did them 100 years ago? We don't plough farmers' fields the same way we did hundreds of years ago. We use technology and machines. You know, we don't print newspapers the same way we did 200 years ago with little things that we have to put in and a press Technology moves on. Why are we still doing our political system the same way that we did hundreds of years ago? Why are we still doing our banking system the same way we did for hundreds of years ago with the central banks, the Bank of England? These are all things that we should have changed decades ago. Certainly, since we've been in the technological age, you could say over the last 50 years, they should have radically been improved, but there's been no improvement whatsoever. Why is that? Well, it's because it suits power for it to be like this. It suits power for nothing to fundamentally change. If nothing fundamentally changes, then they still keep all the power and all the money. So we need fundamental change. My MP never supports the local council estates. All we see is them building up the rich areas. We don't have rich areas where I come from. We just have council estates. It went Tory recently, and in the last election, my area did for the first time in like 30 years. But that wasn't surprising. A lot of Labour strongholds went Tory in the last election because of the way they threw, people who voted for Brexit under the bus. That was Keir Starmer, by the way, remember? Boris is an awful PM. For us, he is. Peter Dunno. For the establishment, he's been great. He's pushing through all these archaic bills that are pretty much going to outlaw protest, or certainly effectively stop effective protest. He's got that through, Theresa May would have had a real problem trying to get something like that through. She might have even actually not put it through herself, because at least you could say of Theresa May that she's got some sort of moral backbone. You don't get that feeling with Boris, do you? What watch is that? It's a Huawei GT2, I think. How can we unite and let go of our differences, says Movie Dissected? A good question. We really do need to unite as well. I'm going to be doing a video on the People's Assembly in the next couple of days, because they refused, the People's Assembly, nearly every protest I've ever been to, but they refused to go to the Kill the Bill protest the other day because they said, quote, an element of the anti-vax movement are going to be there. It's like, what? So because some people are there that you don't agree with on one issue, you're not going to protest this incredibly archaic policing bill that they're ramming through Parliament. You're not going to protest that because some people that you don't like or you don't agree with on another totally separate issue are going to be at that same protest. Well, you're controlled opposition then, if that's the case, If you're not willing to unite with people who you disagree with on other issues, on an issue that's so important like this, then what is the point of you, So I'll do a video on that. I don't really know how we can. I don't really know how we can, especially when, the airwaves are controlled by rich oligarchs whose job it is to keep us fighting amongst ourselves. They're getting rid of BTEC courses as well. I've got a BTEC, I think. Free Assange, says Movie Dissector. I agree. Love your tree, says Joe Broadley. Thank you. I just put it up quickly the other night. The lockdown shows that we're not in control. Well, I don't know. I mean, the first lockdown, I kind of agreed with the lockdowns when they first happened. If you go back and look at my YouTube, I was very, every country in the world rang the alarm bell at the same time. So I knew something was up, you know. China, Cuba and America and Russia, they're all saying the same thing. It's like, this never happened. So there must be some truth to it. So I was all for the first lockdowns and played by the rules and everything for the first year. But now it's a case of, well, I mean, none of that worked back then, and you're still doing this. Your idea now is to keep doing the same thing that didn't work a year ago? Well, that's the definition of insanity. Maybe we're not in control, mate. Maybe you're right. I heard about the parties at the start of the year, says Victor. It wouldn't surprise me if the people knew about it, you know, months ago. You saying you heard about it in January? It wouldn't surprise me. Like I say, why is it coming out now? You know, why is that video coming out now? There's always an agenda. What's your opinion of the royal family? Quite simple. We shouldn't have one. I don't get it. I don't get the whole royal family business. I don't get why we should pay for one family to have houses all over the country and elsewhere and all this wealth and hoard all this wealth. And I don't get why we should have to pay for that. I don't understand what they are bringing to the table. You know, it's like, oh well, they bring tourism, really. So if we get rid of the Queen, we get rid of Buckingham Palace as well? No, we don't. We could actually open up Buckingham Palace a little bit more if we did that, get more tourism, you know? So they only cost us 73 pence a year, each person. That's another argument I've heard. That was quite a good argument. It convinced me for a while, that did. They only cost 73 pence per person per year, the royal family do. It's something like that. It's less than £1 each. But there's 70 million people in the UK. You know, wouldn't you like 70 million people to all give you less than a few pence every year? For what? Because you came out of the right body? I don't get it. I don't get it. And these are obviously not the best people. I was like, oh, well, they're the best. They're royals. Really, are they? Are they really? What they've been up to? You know, in the last 10, 15 years, this royal family, what have they been up to? Who are their friends? Who have they been friends with? I saw a picture today of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at Balmoral. Jeffrey Epstein at Balmoral. That's my opinion of the royal family. Are you styling your hair like that as part of a protest? No, this is my hair, mate. This is my hair. Enjoy it. Thing is, Labour turning SDOT official. Thing is, Labour turning small towns into migrant shitholes. What to do? Well, here's what to do. SDOT official. I'll paper over the fact you call them migrant shitholes. And well, here's what you do. Okay, if you want to stop migrants coming into your country, the best thing to do is to stop bombing the countries that those migrants come from. And then once you stop bombing them, you stop sanctioning them so they can't rebuild. For instance, a hell of a lot of the migrants that you're seeing at the moment coming across the channel are from places like Iran and Syria and Yemen and Iraq and Somalia. You know, these countries. These are all countries that we, along with America, whenever America are doing it, we're there right with them. These are countries that we're either bombing with drones, etc. And remember, there's been no approval for these wars. There's been no Senate approval. There's been no approval down in Parliament or anything like that. And in fact, David Cameron came to Parliament and asked to bomb Syria, to go to war with Syria, and Parliament said no. Do you remember that? But he went and did it anyway. And since then, there's been a 7-8 year dirty war in Syria. Propaganda, media, millions of taxpayer money going to do it, to try and oust Assad because we don't like him. Or America don't like him and they want to put a dictator in there that they can manipulate. So we've had this 8-year war on Syria and millions of Syrians have dispersed as a result of it. They bombed Syria and now they're sanctioning Syria so they can't rebuild after this 7-year dirty war. So people are leaving the country and, well, where's the one place in the world that you can guarantee you're not going to get bombed by the British and Americans? Britain and America. There's 2 places. And America aren't taking them. They can't get on a boat and try and slip into America. It's too far. But they can over here. So you can't really blame politicians for saying, they've turned it into migrant shitholes. Well, you can blame politicians because they're the ones who obviously perpetuate the war. But they didn't even have any say on these wars. The politicians didn't. The politicians said no to the war in Syria. But it happened anyway. I mean, if that doesn't show you that we don't have a democracy and we don't have democratic processes in this country, then nothing will. But, yeah, the best thing to stop people being turned into, or towns being turned into migrant shitholes, as you put them, is to stop bombing their countries and stop sanctioning them. These countries haven't attacked us, They didn't attack us at all. They didn't attack America. We just want a different dictator or a different person at the head of it so we can, rape that country for its resources. Out of which Syria has got lots of resources. Have you noticed all these countries that we're sanctioning at war with? Venezuela, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Venezuela. And that's what they all got in common. Rich in oil. Venezuela's got the highest reserves anywhere in the world. You could build a pipeline from Venezuela to Texas. You could, if you had the right government in Venezuela, and you could then start to rape Venezuela of all its resources and steal its money, its economy, its wealth, which is why they're trying to overthrow Maduro and have been with Chavez. Yeah, what the thing is, Labour turning small towns into migrant shitholes. Well, Conservatives are doing that as well. They're the ones who are voting for these wars that are causing all the migration. 4 million. There's 4 million migrants in Turkey alone in camps. 4 million. This is why Erdogan in Turkey has got quite a big bat, because he has threatened in the past, I'll open the gates to Europe and let these 4 million migrants that he's holding in camps flood into Europe. You're seeing Belarus doing it, or threatening to do it right now in Eastern Europe. It's the wars, it's the sanctions that are causing it all. They come from war-torn backwards areas and bring that into local towns, says SDOT official. Yeah, you're basically, they're war-torn backwards areas because we bombed them into oblivion. It's us that are causing it. The royal family owned leeches. Yeah, that's true. Not just Epstein. What about Jimmy Savile? Yeah, he was a big friend of the royal family, wasn't he? Jimmy Savile, friend of Prince Charles. Pirated Wharf says, we fight proxy wars in those countries and destroy their homes and become enraged when they want one. It's kind of like that, isn't it? You know, especially when the subject of migration comes up and immigration, I always bring up, well, where are these? Because the BBC and the media never ask this question, do they? They never go where I went there. When as soon as the subject come up, that's where I went to. Well, these migrants are coming from somewhere. Why? Once you actually make that correlation, everything else sort of, oh, okay. Just everything else will go, you make that correlation and everybody goes, okay, all right. Nobody's arguing then. Everybody's like, no, we agree. Let's stop bombing the countries and we haven't got the problem then. The media never tell you what I've just told you. The reason is because it's quite simple when you think about it. They know, just as I do, that the reason these migrants are coming here is because we're bombing their countries. And here is the one place that they won't be a victim of our foreign policy. But they will never tell you that. Why? Because by not telling you that, it keeps the people that have been arguing in my comments underneath that I've seen, arguing with each other. It'll keep you arguing with each other about, oh, they're bad, oh, no, they're good, oh, they're bad, oh, they're good. It'll keep you arguing with each other, when actually, when I said, oh, well, if we stop bombing these countries and causing the migration, then we wouldn't have this problem, you probably both went, yeah, that's true. Let's do that. Which is why the media don't tell you that. I don't know who. Just scrolling down the comments. SDOT official says they come for the benefits. They're economic migrants. They're not coming for the benefits, mate. They're not. Do you really think an illegal migrant is getting? Alan Castillo, 17th. Why don't they go to their Muslim country and leave pure white Europe alone? Well, first of all, Syria, well, where many of these migrants are coming from, like explained, I think there's 4 million in Turkey, many of which have come from Syria. Syria is not a Muslim country; it's a secular country. The Muslim countries, like Saudi Arabia, we're friends with. You know, that's a dictatorship. That's an autocracy. That's secular. Syria's secular. Jews, atheists, Christians, Muslims all live in Syria in harmony. Would you be happy with Somalis fighting with machetes outside your house? I wouldn't be happy with anybody fighting outside my house, especially Somalis. But those Somalis wouldn't be outside your house if we weren't bombing it into oblivion. Do you see what I mean? If we weren't helping America bomb unilaterally. I mean, remember, they're bombing these countries without having get on approval. They've done it all through the Patriot Act, which came out of 9/11. They used the Patriot Act to be able to say, right, okay, we can offensively bomb other countries to keep America safe. How is bombing Somalia keeping America safe? It's not. This is all about control of resources and control of money and making sure that the companies are safe. You know, America have got over 800 military bases around the world. Do you think that's to keep them safe? Or do you think that's to keep their economic model going where, you know, the American companies go into places like Syria and the Golan Heights and steal the oil and pay no tax in that country and nothing goes to the people of that country and it all gets sucked out? That's what's happening. The reason you've got Somalians fighting with machetes outside of your house is because we've bombed their houses. I really wish people would get on board with that. I really do. Pure white Europe, I know. Wasino says we need to get Jeremy Corbyn back, best Prime Minister we never had. I don't know. It would have been nice, I think, to see how he did, but I think Jeremy's biggest strength is also his biggest weakness. And his biggest strength is he doesn't throw a punch. He won't throw a punch. Under any circumstances will that man throw a punch. But that's his biggest strength as well. You know, you look at how he dealt with the anti-Semitism smear. I was screaming at him, stand up, fight, but he just wouldn't throw a punch. He was just, Would have been nice to see him as Prime Minister, see how he did, but I don't think he would have got very far. Certainly with the party he had, because the Parliamentary Labour Party runs the party. Not the people, not the voters. The Labour Party is anti-democratic. It's what the PLP want is what's important, not what the members want. The members can vote for all sorts of crap. Doesn't matter. It's only if the PLP want it, you're gonna get it. And the PLP don't want anything that is going to help ordinary people. They just don't. They will only do something if it helps Israel. That's pretty much it. Gordon, how do you think you would vote if there wasn't an election tomorrow? I can tell you the way I voted in the last election that there was. I think it was a by-election here. In the last election, I walked in and I wrote "Free Julian Assange" all over the ballot and put it in the ballot box. So I spoiled my ballot. That's the way. If it was tomorrow, I'd do the same thing. Although we are going to get the result, the decision on Julian Assange tomorrow. So yeah, how would I vote? I'd vote "Free Julian Assange." That's what I'd vote. Corbyn was a great campaigner, not so much a leader, in my opinion. Says Red Mosey. He's a very nice man, I think. Sarah Sultan for Labour leader, says Tasman. Oh, you mean Zara Sultana, the Coventry MP? Yeah, she's one of the MPs that have been impressing me recently, but it just means that she's going to let me down badly at some time. I'm going to be really disappointed in her in the future. I don't have, any heroes that I look for in politics anymore. Don't have heroes in politics. They'll let you down. Best Prime Minister we never had was Tony Benn. Somebody just said Imran. Yeah, I think Tony Benn would have made a better Prime Minister than Jeremy Corbyn. I'll agree with you there, mate. Corbyn was a disciple of Tony Benn. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Tony Benn could throw a punch there. Yeah. Watch Tony Benn's speech on Iraq in the comments, says Imran. Yes, please do. I've seen that many times. It was very good. Very good. Yeah, filing for bankruptcy has just said to somebody else in the chat that somebody who's saying that these immigrants are coming here to get our benefits. It's like they don't get benefits. They don't even know we have them. I mean, you got to imagine you got Europe. They're on Europe. They're in Europe right now, so they're in safe countries, but they're still risking their lives and paying a fortune to come here. So what is Europe telling them? What are the people in Europe telling them? I mean, you can imagine that life's going to be hard in Europe for them in places like, Germany and France, especially if they're not vaccinated now and they're off the books. So you can imagine in Europe, these crooks and these gangs are saying, "Oh, it's not the same over in the UK. It's lovely, it's a land of milk and honey over there. They'll give you all of these benefits. They really will." Fill their head with loads of rubbish like that, and that's why they come over. It's misinformation they're being fed. Benefits. Media don't tell you the racial crime statistics when migrants get settled in an area. Whenever you get migrants come in, whenever you get migration, there's a period of integration. There are things that are par for the course in other countries and are acceptable in other countries, and people don't even bat an eyelid in other countries that over here we'd be absolutely horrified by, and you get that in any situation. Personally, I think we shouldn't demonize people who are coming here because we've bombed the shit out of their countries. If anything, we should apologize and say, how can we help you? What's the matter? Come here. My dog wants to go out. I might have to cut this short in a minute. Again, people saying migrants destabilise countries all over the world. I think that's what Seven Oak or Joker has said. They destabilise countries all over the world. No. Migrants don't destabilise countries all over the world. It's not migrants that do that. It's us and America. That's who do that. It's our foreign policy and America's foreign policy going on, us following America on their shirt tails because we're their little bitch. We're the ones who destabilise other countries. Look at Libya. Just look at Libya, okay? When Gaddafi was the head of Libya, Libya was the richest country in Africa. They used to give you money to get married in Libya. Seriously. Go and look at the benefits you got under Gaddafi's government in Libya. It's incredible. They had healthcare. That's something they don't have in America. Libya was incredible. And then what happened? Well, they wanted to come off the dollar and have their oil sold in an African dinar backed by gold. And Hillary Clinton and the powers that be in Washington didn't like that. Because, hey, if you're getting oil sold in something else other than dollars in the world, then that's a threat to their hegemony. So, they went in and you saw the pictures. Gaddafi he had a bayonet up his poop scoop or whatever, up his rectum. A bayonet shoved up there. You listen to Hillary Clinton, what happened? Hillary Clinton, she heard about it and she said, ha! There's video footage of her laughing about Gaddafi being killed. We came, we saw, he died, ha! Go and see it, go and look it up. That was the richest country in Africa. Today, there's open slave markets. You can go to Libya and buy a slave now. We did that. We destabilised that country, not migrants. It wasn't migrants that destabilised Libya. No, we did. And then when all the migrants came over here from Libya and places that we've destroyed, we went, oh, these migrants, they're destroying the country. No, they're not. We are. I hope a few people start You know, I hope at least one person hears that and goes, ah. It's very easy to demonize the thing that you can see. Do you know what I mean? You see the migrant, you see the Somalians fighting outside your doorstep. My dog's really annoying me. Go and lie down! Sorry. Oh, is Haraman 786 says, I think Zara Sultana would be a great prime minister. I think she's very young, isn't she? She'd be very young to be a prime minister. Have we got a limit on how young you have? I know you have to be 35 or over in America to be president. I wonder if that's the same here. She's certainly younger than 35, I would think. Your spoilt ballot went to the Tories, says. Well, I mean, you know. So what's the option then? As far as Feck Me Sideways says, your spoilt ballot went to the Tories then. No, my spoilt ballot went to the spoilt ballot. That's where it went to. This whole, a vote for the Green is a vote for the Tories, a vote for Lib Dems is a vote for the Tories. They want you to think like that. We need a complete and utter overhaul of the electoral system. Don't demonize people for voting, or don't demonize people for marking their disgust at the system. Because the option is, unless we vote the way he wants, which is obviously Labour, because he doesn't like the Tories, unless we vote that way, then everybody votes Tory. We need a complete overhaul of the system. This first past the post system is nonsense. We need some proper proportional representation in this country. We need actual people who are going to look after the communities that they're elected to serve. My spoiled ballot went to the Tories. Get on your bike. Thank you, Porky. Starmer is a Tory in disguise. He's not in disguise, mate. He's not in disguise. He's a Tory. He's just wearing a red tie. Boris Johnson backup. I can't. Just going through these comments down here. Thanks for all your comments, everybody. This has been great. What do you think of the new law that can strip your citizenship away, says Ishara Man 786? I think it's absolutely abhorrent, is the truth. I think it's terrible. I mean, it's wide open to abuse. I mean, they're basically saying that people born in this country, they can say, yeah, we'll strip you away, we'll make you stateless if you don't toe our line. I think it's abhorrent, is the truth. And I don't know how they're getting away with this. I don't know how. To be honest, there have been times over the last couple of years where I've like, how has the Houses of Parliament not been ripped apart piece by piece by a British public ready to to grab these people with their bare hands and throttle them. You know, there have been times over the last couple of years I felt like that. Tomorrow morning, when we hear about the Julian Assange extradition appeal, if he's not freed, how can we look at any other country with any sort of moral authority if we keep a journalist locked up in our version of Guantanamo Bay for proving that war criminals are war criminals? How can we have any moral authority anyway? Well, this is Filing for Bankruptcy says, I don't really like Labour either, as they are corrupt, but they're two, but they are the only option currently. Well, I mean, you know, who does that benefit? Who benefits from that? Who benefits from a two-party system where both parties are pretty much the same? I mean, Labour, if Labour move, I would say that Keir Starmer, if you actually looked, I don't like looking things through the left-right spectrum, as many people will know if they watch me, but you could make the argument that actually Keir Starmer's a moderate conservative. And Labour aren't left-wing at all. We haven't got a left-wing party. So, I mean, are they an option? Really? Are they an option? I mean, you're either going to vote, if you're going to vote Tory, you're going to vote Tory, aren't you? You're not going to vote Tory light, which is what Labour are. So they're not really an option. It's just awful, or not as awful, but still awful. It's perfect. It's American politics. We've turned into them. Brilliant. Nationality and Borders Bill was quietly passed through Parliament. Shouty BBC, ITV didn't tell us. No, of course they didn't warn you. Stop. Forget the BBC and ITV. You're not going to get any information from them. You're not going to get any viable information from them. I was listening to them talking about the vaccinations earlier, and the scientist guy that they had on there said two things that I know are completely false, and that's the scientist guy. They're filling your head. They're filling people's heads with lies, is what they're talking. I mean, how often has they talked about Julian Assange? My friend Emmy Butlin, who's a member of the Julian Assange Defence Commission, she's actually she runs it. She's had to get the BBC, I think on six separate occasions, don't quote me, but I think it's 6, to correct a lie, the same lie that they keep telling about Julian Assange over and over. For years, they've been saying that he faces charges in Sweden. There have never been any charges brought forward in Sweden at all. There was an investigation, but there's so little evidence they couldn't bring charges. But whenever it looked like, things were going his way, the media, charges in Sweden. You know, they've reopened the Swedish investigation, and you had the BBC saying, he might have to be extradited to Sweden to face charges in Sweden. No. There've never been any charges in Sweden. And they've repeated that lie over and over half a dozen times, and my friend has had to get them to retract that lie and edit it 6 times. I'm sure it's 6. If you tell the same lie, if you tell a lie once, okay, you could make a mistake. Twice, well, all right, to err is human. But you'd start doing it 3, 4, 5, 6 times, that's not a mistake. You know, that's on purpose. Then you're purposefully lying to people and giving them misinformation. And in the case of the BBC, they're also making you pay for it and threatening to throw you in jail if you don't. Filing for bankruptcy. Yeah, they employed an ex-Israeli Israeli spy who did cyber attacks on Palestinians. Yes, that's the Labour Party he's talking about. Pirated Wharf has just said that. Yeah, that's the Labour Party. They did that. I think it was last year, wasn't it? If you honestly, guys, forget getting your news from the BBC. Switch them off. Seriously, switch them off. If the BBC say anything that you need to know, I'll let you know. If you watch the media, any mainstream media that comes through your television box, any mainstream media, it doesn't matter, CNN, Fox, OAN, MSNBC, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Sky, the lot of them, they're all the same. They're all the same, and you're not going to get any facts or any truth from them at all. It's only from independent media. I was saying this to somebody the other day. If you want to actually get any sort of real insight into what's going on in Britain and what's the most important subjects to think to be informed on in the UK from your news, you need to go to Russian news to get it. RT are basically the best mainstream news channel in the UK and in America, which is why you won't get it on terrestrial TV. You know, they've called them get out. The same way as if you want news on Russia, for instance, on what's going on in Russia, you don't go to RT in Russia. No, you go to BBC in Russia and Al Jazeera in Russia, because they'll tell you the truth about them. You know, it's the same over here. You want the truth about British. If you want to watch a news channel that's going to give you that's going to inform you somewhat of what's going on in the UK, RT is about the best. In fact, it's not about the best, it is. But independent media is so much better. They really demonised Gaddafi. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. SDOT official says that's not the case. He was a dictator and the Libyan people hated him. No, incorrect. That's propaganda that you've been. Where did you get that information from? You got it from the BBC. It's incorrect, mate. It's not. Yeah, I mean, yes, okay. There was a civil, but how did that happen? Well, it happened because the Americans fomented discord in that country, the same way they do in any country where they want a coup. Started back in 48, whatever it is, with the CIA, 53 Mossadegh in Iran. You know, when you look at when you listen to the media and they talk to you about the conflict between Iran and America, the history, they never start as far back as 53, do they? They might go back as far as, you know, the Iran nuclear deal. Oh, the Iran nuclear deal, it all went tits up. Well, no, actually, America withdrew from it. America violated it. America walked away from it, not Iran. And if you push them in the media, they'll go back as far as 1979 to the Iranian Revolution. They won't go to 1953. They won't mention the 26 years before 1979, where they installed the dictator, the Shah, which is Persian for Iranian prince. And the way that he installed a brutal police service called the Savak. Look them up on Google. Do a Google search on the Savak. You know, and this is all because Western influences installed this dictator. You know? And then when they've got somebody who's maybe popular in a country that they don't like, then they'll start spreading all sorts of rumours about him and try a coup, like they did in Iran in 53 with Mossadegh. The CIA spread lies on the ground in Iran that he was a Jewish communist. And that's how that started. That's how they got rid of Mohammad Mossadegh, who was the first democratically elected president in Iran. And it was Times Man of the Year the year before. He wanted to audit the Anglo-Iranian oil company, the AOC, which was BP. Again, it comes back to oil. Again, it comes back to resources and money. I'm not saying that Gaddafi was a good person. He wasn't. But when you've got outside influences affecting you as a prime minister or leader, then a lot of these countries who are in that situation, they end up with a real authoritarian tough guy, because that's who the populace look to. Sort of, oh, he's tough. This is what happened with excuse me. This is what happened with Putin and Russia. You know, the Americans under, well, Boris Yeltsin, they installed Yeltsin, and the American companies went in there and started absolutely clearing Russia out of all its money, raping the country, and left them in a right mess. So then you've got Putin, who came in and authoritarian, is like, right, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop America doing this. I'm going to stop the Western doing this. I'm going to bring back. And over the last, 20 years, if you look at where Russia was when he took over to where he is now, it's night and day. And the Russians really, his approval rating in Russia is still pretty high. It's still like 67%. And that's because we forced the country into having a tough guy dictator. This is why Erdogan in Turkey holds on to his power, because the populace look at the authoritarian tough guy. Oh yeah, he's fighting the horrible Western influences that are trying to destroy our country. It works very well. They wanted an African currency. Yeah, the dinar backed in gold. MS99598, thank you for that. That's really nice. I try and be fair. Yeah, I haven't got a dog in this fight. I haven't got... Obviously, if I think something's right, then I'll point that out, but I'm not picking sides in this at all. You'll be apologising for being white next, says SD. I won't go that far. I'm not apologising for being white. You look like Ian Beale from EastEnders. That's not very nice. Thank you for all the nice comments, everybody. That's really nice. Aisha. Okay, Aisha. Let's go down. All right. See if we can... Cain the Betrayer. Oh, here's one that Shamima Begum was born here. She's currently stateless. Van. Yeah, she was born here, and they're like, you can't come back. Well, she did go and fight for ISIS. I mean, that's a real difficult one, isn't it? You're going to fight for ISIS. How old was she when she went? I don't really know that story enough to comment on it. I tend to avoid things like, if the mainstream media concentrate on it, I kind of like go, oh, it's all in the wrong direction, you know. RT, what about their Skripal coverage? Their Skripal coverage was better than the UK's, for sure. But they had a real dog in that fight, you know. I know stuff about the Skripal case which would blow your mind. I really do. I know stuff about the Skripal case which would absolutely blow your mind. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've got tons of videos that I've done on Skripals and what have you. Yeah, we weren't told a goddamn true thing about that at all. Do you watch Byline as well? No, I don't. I don't watch Byline Times. No, I don't. There's a couple of journalists there who are bad journalists, and I mean that, bad journalists. So I'm sorry to people trying to come in. I'm just reading quotes at the moment. Why don't we have a revolution, as it feels like we live in a dictatorship, says Jeremy Cool. I'm waiting for it, mate. I really am. I'm waiting for it. Emerald Brian says we need a transparent system with politicians doing live town hall Q&A on 2T. We do, Emerald Brian, and if you care about that and you think that we should have a transparent system, then you need to get on board with Julian Assange. Like I say, we'll find out whether we find out the court's decision on Julian Assange tomorrow. If you want transparency, then free Julian Assange. If I can't donate or vote, how would you say I should support Palestine? Says Pirated Wolf. Be as loud as you can on social media. Write to your politician about the plight. Be as nice as you possibly can, and stick to facts with regards to it. Tell your friends. Explain what's going on there. Explain that to everybody. Israel is an apartheid state. Point to the Human Rights Watch articles. Point to the cards. Look what it's like for people over there. Look at the rights that a Palestinian has in Israel compared to an American who's just moved to Israel because he decided he was Jewish last Wednesday, and now he gets to steal that Palestinian's home and bulldoze over it and steal his land. Look at the rights that Palestinian's got next to the American guy who, keep on that. Inform yourself of just their plight and just talk to as many people as possible. That's what I would say. The UK and US are both guilty of interfering in several leaderships in several countries, says Woolnight. Absolutely right. They recently did it in Nicaragua. I had a Ben Norton from the Grey Zone on my podcast to talk about that. They've been doing that for decades. Well, we know all about South America and the Monroe Doctrine. The worst enemy to the West is America. I will agree with you there, Anton. JM Cool, is this country ever going to get better? I don't know. For 2 years I've been saying, well, it can't get worse, and every day it does. So I don't know. Will we ever have a Labour government again? I don't think so. That's the truth. I don't think we'll ever have a Labour. I think Labour are done. I think they're finished. If you live in the South, you're probably going to hear me say that and go, what? What? I don't think many people in the South, London, and they don't understand just how much people. I was going to say in the North then, but it's not even in the North. It's north of the Watford Gap, is what it is. Anybody above Milton Keynes. That was where Labour's heartland was coming from. You look, Scotland used to be half Labour. Now it's what they got one seat, I think, in Scotland, or if that. You look at all the seats they lost in the Midlands. My constituency was Labour going back to the 80s. Not anymore. It's Conservative. And the reason why that is because they threw their base overboard with Brexit. They threw them overboard. I live in an area in the Black Country in the West Midlands, which has been devastated by neoliberalism. This place is called the Black Country because of how hard it used to be the engine of the country, the smoke coming out the stacks. They used to say it was black by day and red by night because the fires and the embers settling down. Those jobs are gone now. The manufacturing industry in this country has just disappeared. It's gone. It's never going to come back. And Labour threw all those people overboard. Because those people, those jobs have all gone abroad, and then we've had an influx of cheap labour coming in from Eastern Europe because of, the EU and the free movement of people, which has driven Western wages in this country down to Eastern European levels so that the EU could compete with the Chinese on the global market. That's essentially what happened. And people in the Midlands and the North were like, forget this. We need to be out of this. It was an FU to technocracy. is what it was, to unelected people in the EU Council making all the decisions to what happens. That's what it was. And then Labour, instead of listening to their base, said, no, you're wrong. You're wrong to want Brexit. We're gonna ask for another vote. So really, are you? Well, you've just thrown your base under the bus, haven't you? And I don't know a single person that will forgive them. I really don't. Not a single person, not in the Midlands, certainly. And up north, I know it's going to be even worse. You go to a place like Newcastle and Sunderland, you're going to get 3 words when you mention Labour to anybody in the Tyne Tees, you're going to get 3 words. Well, 2 words. The second one will be Labour, and the first one will begin with F. Will we ever have a Labour government again? I don't think so. I think they're finished, mate. Wasino says, will the West turn its backs on Middle East and look towards countries with lithium very soon? Yes. In fact, they already have. Go look at Bolivia. Go look at the coup they did in Bolivia, and then you look at Elon Musk. Even Elon Musk was like, we will coup who we want on Twitter. You had to delete that tweet because they knew it was a coup for the lithium in Bolivia. It's already happening. Will be snowing in number 10 this Christmas, says Conspiracy Mindset. Yes, it will, especially if Michael Gove is invited there. She was 15. I assume you're talking about Shamima Begum or whatever it is. She was a child who got groomed by a cult. Well, you see, I don't know this story of Shamima. I haven't paid it much attention because the mainstream media did, but I should probably do. It's not as it's obviously not as black and white as people make out. I think they'll do the Julian the same as Chelsea Manning. Well, Chelsea Manning's out now. Chelsea Manning's released. Hopefully they'll release Julian tomorrow. Favourite politics account. Thank you, Toysy. That's nice of you. Aren't Labour still the best chance we have got of getting the Tories out there? No. No, honestly. It doesn't matter if you get the Tories out. It really doesn't. Labour, you think Labour are going to be any different? They're not. They're not going to rule any different to the Tories. They're not. It's going to be still be neoliberal. I think the best chance we've got is a revolution. I really do. And as far off that is, I think that's the best chance. This electoral system is not working for us anymore. We give those 650 MPs down there in the Houses of Commons hold our sovereignty in trust. They've broken that trust. They've broken the social contract. Now they've broken the social contract, all bets are off. We need to take back our democracy because we haven't got one. Look at the car industry in the West Midlands, says Tasmania. Yes, look at that. There isn't one anymore. There used to be. I don't understand who can vote for Tories now. They're literally laughing at us and prating. Yeah, I know. I don't understand how people can, but equally, I don't understand how people can vote for Labour after seeing what they've done to Jeremy Corbyn. You know? There's no difference for them. It's like, it's really difficult to sort of like come to, it's a really difficult conclusion to come to. But once you come to the conclusion, it's like, oh, the system needs totally changing. Don't you worry about yourself when promoting the truth. No. What are they going to do? Kill me? Got to catch me first. I'm fast, like a whippet. How can anybody vote any party in the UK? Says Tasmania. Yeah, I kind of like that. I'd vote for an individual, I think, but not a political party. All right, I'm down at the bottom. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for chatting to me. Thank you so much. It's been lovely, and yeah, I'll be dropping some videos over the next few days on protest, and no doubt on Julian's decision tomorrow, and also on Duma as well, on the chemical weapons attack in Duma that happened a few years ago. If for anybody who doesn't know, that chemical weapons attack in Duma that allegedly happened, that allegedly was dropped. Remember, they said, oh, it was dropped by a bomb from a helicopter and it was a sad governor and he killed all these people. No, he didn't. It was complete fabrication, complete made up by our Western media, and it's another thing that they've been lying about. And there was a big cover-up in the OPCW, which means the OPCW is compromised, which means the OPCW can't be trusted going forward, and neither can any of its findings historically, because we know that they lied. And we know that the whole thing was fabricated by the group called the White Helmets. You might have remembered that scene where they were pouring water on children in the hospital in Duma. Those children were suffering from dust inhalation. It wasn't from any chemical weapons attack. And he was seized upon by the White Helmets to make a big deal out of, and that led to the trilateral bombing of Syria, based on a crime that didn't happen. That is called the supreme war crime, and we did that. So I'm going to be doing videos about that. If you need any more information, there's plenty of videos on my Rockfin and my YouTube. Go and watch them. Go and educate yourself on the Duma thing for sure, and Russiagate as well. If you believe that Vladimir Putin installed Donald Trump, go and watch my videos on Russiagate. That will set you straight on a few things. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for listening to me. Thanks very much for watching. Yeah, support independent media, please. You can go to my website, find out ways to support me, and I'll continue giving you as much truth as I possibly can, and be as fair-minded as I possibly can as well. Thanks very much. You're awesome.